moment as San Diego comes to meet the Zags of Gonzaga. Already been a big week in this conference. Gonzaga, they won that big Thursday showdown against St. Mary's. The Zags are a perfect 6-0 so far. They were very nearly beaten Thursday night by the Gales, though, if not for Patty Mills breaking his hand late in the first half. He had hit 6 threes before the injury. Now he might be out for over a month. Gonzaga has another big road test coming up later on this week, Thursday night at Portland, though. The Pilots are off to their best conference start ever, so a lot happening in the West Coast Conference. Bob Wischusen and Steve Bardo here at Gonzaga. Thanks so much for coming to Spokane with us. And Steve, really the real estate that's been carved out in the West Coast Conference, much as we would expect at this point. Gonzaga still the dominant team.
Yeah, they're the big guys on the block. On the other side, San Diego really struggling, coming in on a 2-game losing streak and trying to find their identity without their best player, Brandon Johnson, who got injured earlier this year.
As we take a look at the Star Watch for this afternoon's game, 2 very good players in the pivot.
Yeah, Josh Heitfeld's one of the more skilled big men in the nation, runs the floor like a gazelle, and Gino Palmer, 2-time all-conference performer, very effective on the interior, but may have trouble getting his shot off against the size and depth of Gonzaga.
As we take a look at the starting lineups, first of all, for the Toreros, they need help up front for Palmer out of Rob Jones.
Yeah, Rob Jones is an undersized forward, but he's very skilled, very athletic. He'll have to do some damage if San Diego wants to pull off the upset.
For the Zags, Matt Bolden has been great in his last 7 games, averaging about 17 per.
Matt Bolden, one of the premier playmakers from the wing position in the West Coast. See what he can do today, probably going up against a zone defense of San Diego.
Well, we know what the Zags usually do for their head coach, Mark Few, and that's win. 251 wins in 10 years. He has never had less than a 20-win season. The 6th-time Coach of the Year in this conference. They've been to the tournament every one of his 9 years, and he's second only to Roy Williams right now among active coaches in winning percentage. And he was helped out for many of those years by Bill Greer, who for the last 8 years, or at least up until the last 2, taking over at San Diego, was the right-hand man for Mark Few here at Gonzaga.
Yeah, they really have an affinity towards one another, and it's great to see when your assistants can go off and get a job like Bill Greer's done, and then capitalize on it with the year they had last year.
The Zags at 15-4. Losses to Arizona, Portland State, an unthinkable loss really in this building, and UConn and Utah both in overtime. Talking to Mark Few earlier today, I asked him about the hangover, if there was one after that UConn loss, and he said definitely there was, but at the same time he would flip it around and say he thinks his team is only about 10 total seconds away from being a 1-loss team. They basically had UConn beat and were so close to beating Utah as well. There was a tip in late, and they ended up losing that game in overtime. So he feels his team now back in the top 25, and they are getting back to the point where you would think about them as a team that could go deep in March.
Well, they're so skilled and they're so deep and versatile on the offensive end. You know, we talked about their defense. They're second in the nation in field goal percentage D, so playing good defense, and they have the combination where if they can put it all together, they can have a nice run towards Detroit.
Ray forces one up as the shot clock was winding down, and Matt Dorr had the rebound.
Pretty good defensive possession that time for San Diego. A little surprised they came out in man-to-man. Everyone in the conference besides St. Mary's has played Gonzaga zone, so San Diego trying to mano-a-mano on the defensive end.
Evan Ginty able to penetrate, slips it underneath. Palmer had a problem handling it, and then scores the game's first points as he regathered. And Devin Ginty starting today in place of Tremaine Johnson, who's normally the starting point guard for San Diego.
Tell you what, Gino Palmer, he looks like he's in slow motion. Doesn't look like he's going hard, but he is going hard. Made a nice adjustment underneath the basket on that hoop.
Heitfeld fumbled the dribble, and it's taken away.
Sometimes you wonder about Josh Heitfeld and his competitive nature. Seems to float at times on the floor.
Well, getting hard after the basketball on the floor was Devin Ginty, and he saves it. A fresh shot clock for San Diego.
Those are the opportunities, Bob, that keep you in the game on the road. Ginty laid it all out right there going after the loose ball. Coaches love that type of effort, especially when you're trying to establish yourself on the road. Gonzaga doing a fine job of trying to keep a foot inside the three-point line and force you over the top.
Offensive rebound for Palmer and clears it back outside the door. Another possession for San Diego.
And this is what San Diego likes to do. Get you in the half court and chew you up a little bit with their motion offense. Hopefully you get a breakdown in the defense in the last 10 seconds or so.
Palmer left open. Can't hit. I felt the rebound. Gray will try from deep.
Well,
Door saves it to Ginty.
He's really been struggling, Bob, with his outside shot. Stephen Gray usually a dead-on shooter. And you can tell he's pressing because in the beginning of the year when he was shooting a better percentage, he let the game come to him.
Door started to go backdoor, and Ginty threw it away. Well, do you sense a little letdown for Gonzaga? An afternoon game only about 36 hours after that big matchup on Thursday night with St. Mary's.
Yeah, and you know, as coaches, you don't want to hear that, okay, we're taking one game to be more important than the next, but these are 18 to 22-year-olds, and they're going to get up for certain opportunities, and San Diego is struggling a little bit, especially in their last two games. Don't have their outstanding guard from a year ago, and so they struggle to score the basketball, and I can see them and Gonzaga having a little bit of a letdown.
Gay pulls up, in and out, still scoreless. The Zags 3.5 minutes in.
San Diego doing a really good job on the glass, an area that they struggled in.
A tip away that stays with San Diego with 16:28 to go in the first half. And San Diego only averages allowing about 60 points per game. They are, in terms of points allowed per game, right at the top of the defensive standings of the West Coast Conference as Tremaine Johnson comes on and replaces Ginty.
Yeah, Bob, they do a fine job defensively, and part of that is because of their style on the offensive end. They really take a lot of time off each possession, so it limits the possessions on the opposing team. You see Tremaine Johnson with the ball right there, one of their more creative players, rocking the kid and play cut. You remember that, don't you, Bob?
House party or house party two?
There you go.
Palmer banks it home, and he has all 4 San Diego points. Heitfeld hangs, can't hit.
Well, that was a great look. And that shows you the athleticism of Josh Heitfeld, being able to beat everyone down the floor. Well, Gino Palmer, I almost want to go dun, 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 it. Reminds me of Fred Sanford. Just slow moving, but effective.
For 3, can't hit, and Day the rebound.
This young man has been struggling with his O as well. Jeremy Pargo has really been trying to force the issue off the bounce.
Foul called. Goes to Sean Jackson, his first. Palmer inside, working underneath. He's got the first 4 points of the game. Still scoreless, though, the Zags.
That's amazing numbers right there.
It's amazing.
Pat Summitt, incredible run, and many things she could coach in any sport that she wants to in terms of having that type of success and the motivator that she's been for those young ladies.
We'll be watching. Could you have scripted it much better as well? The test for Tennessee on the road against the #2 team in America in Oklahoma to try to go for win number 1,000?
Yeah, but she better recruit some guys on the men's side going up against Courtney Paris. Boy, she is a load. I think she's a double-double every game of her career.
I think she's got 999 straight double-doubles. So there's 2 streaks on the line in that game. Right. 5-second call. Gonzaga has not scored, and we've played nearly 5 minutes. Now, San Diego's only put 4 points up on the board, but could you have envisioned a much better start for the Toreros?
Definitely not on the road, coming in off a 2-game losing streak. But you know what, Bob? Bill Greer not only knows this Gonzaga team, but he knows the psyche of the players. And that's a big-time advantage when you're going up against your old employer. They are friends, but he knows the intricacies and how the psyche of this team in terms of Gonzaga. He knows how to get them off balance, and they've done a good job of that thus far.
First substitution in the game, Ira Brown, who turned 26 this past summer, replaces Josh Heitfeld. Turned 26 because he played pro baseball primarily in the Royals organization for 5 years as a right-handed pitcher. Had some shoulder problems and decided baseball wasn't going to work out, came back to college, and is now a 26-year-old senior at the power forward spot for Gonzaga.
Well, he's put together like a football player, though. I haven't seen many baseball players with a physique like Ira Brown.
Palmer over Brown, though, at the height advantage. Couldn't connect. Day, another rebound.
This is where Jeremy Pargo can be dangerous in a broken court situation.
Day slips one off to Brown, and Gonzaga gets on the board and stop.
Tell you what, Austin Day is 6'11". Boy, he's a skilled performer. Sweet no-look past the defense on the interior. That's big-time basketball.
Palmer spins baseline and draws the foul on Brown. Let's take a look at the creativity of Austin Day.
Austin Day is 6'11", puts it on the deck on the interior, and wraparound pass, no look, fights against the traffic. Look at that sweet dime. Austin Day just can shoot the three, handle the basketball. You saw his passing ability there. Not a lot that he can't do on the basketball court, but could put that Serta in the weight room. Needs that mattress in the weight room.
A few more pounds of muscle, though, and he is going to have NBA scouts thinking hard about where to draft him.
Oh, I think they're thinking hard already, and I believe he's a projected lottery pick as we speak, just on potential alone. And bloodlines as well with his dad, Darren Day, is a star at UCLA.
Palmer goes to the bench for the first time. Clinton Houston, a sophomore from Dallas, replaces him. 33 in blue in the lane. That ball's knocked out of bounds off San Diego.
Now you saw a little bit of three-quarter court pressure by San Diego, not necessarily trying to get a steal, but trying to keep Gonzaga off rhythm and have them second-guessing themselves, not letting them come up and get into their motion offense.
Pargo, straightaway three. Brown keeps it alive.
Well, nice substitution by Mark Few. Wasn't getting the energy from Heitfeld, and Ira Brown comes in, pays dividends.
Pargo can't reverse it home. I think they're going to give the basket today, although it may have been tipped in underneath by Rob Jones. And now it goes back over to Gonzaga at the other end. Jones may have knocked this ball into his own basket.
Well, you see the height of Austin Day.
They snuck a finger, I think, right in between the two hands of Jones and just got enough to eke it over the front of the rim.
It's interesting, though, Gonzaga looking for some kind of spark plug and energy to start the game, as you mentioned, starting off very flat.
Brown bumped underneath by DeJon Jackson, so he'll go to the free throw line. And later tonight, Saturday night primetime continues on ESPN with a battle in the SEC at 9 Eastern. Nick Kalapis and the Gators will take on Tyler Smith and the Volunteers. Florida, Tennessee. Saturday night primetime presented by DirecTV on ESPN tonight at 9 Eastern. For more information, log on to ESPN.com.
You look at that Florida-Tennessee matchup in an SEC conference that appears right now to be down, but South Carolina fast improving. Kentucky is going to be solid. LSU looking pretty good. So that's an interesting conference where they hadn't had anybody in the top 25 for a few weeks.
Now Devin Ginty came back on, replacing Dorr. So now you've got a couple of point guards on the floor. What do you think the thought is here for Bill Greer having Johnson and Ginty both out there?
Well, they really want to handle the basketball. Gonzaga likes to speed you up and force turnovers. And Ginty can handle the basketball, but he's also pretty good from three-point line if he can get an open look.
Shot clock inside of 10. Offensive foul call.
Nice job, Ira Brown sliding into position defensively. Take a look here. All eyes on the ball. Ira Brown set up beautifully to draw the contact, cutting down the penetration lane.
Second foul called on DeJon Jackson. So he'll go to the bench. Danny Brown comes on for the first time.
And Danny Brown, primarily a three-point shooter, doesn't handle the basketball as well as DeSean Jackson, so San Diego will have to make that adjustment.
Well, Bolden looked like a football player there, like a fullback, basically buried his shoulder and just muscled his way to the goal and draws the foul on Brown.
Bolden with that hair of Samson and that stocky build, man. He gets those shoulders on you. It's not a whole lot you can do. At 225, 6'5", great frame on the wing position.
That might be my next look. Right there. What do you think?
That suit,
might be where I go next.
That with that suit you had on your Facebook page.
There you go.
That would be tight.
Yeah, I would think that with the 70s suit, but also that hairdo would do wonders to mask the bald spot, I would think. Wouldn't you think?
Oh, but it looks good, man. It's a sign of maturity, you know?
You say so.
Yeah. Me and your wife, right?
That's right. You're the only two. I love the student section here at the McCarthy Center as well, because normally at the bottom of your screen right now you'd be able to see us and you'd see the bald spot kind of move across the bottom of the screen. You know, all the kids here jump up and down, though. You have no idea we're even here. It's perfect.
Beautiful thing. What a home court advantage for Gonzaga. But you see what Gonzaga's doing right now, keeping a foot inside the three-point line and forcing San Diego to beat them over the top.
The offensive rebound for a moment by Houston, taken away by Bolden.
Nice job of defensive transition by San Diego, getting back and limiting Gonzaga's opportunities in the open court. Good job by Rob Jones, bodying up Day.
Micah Downs spins baseline and walked. Let's check in with Ryan Burr back in our studios. Ryan, take it away.
All right, guys, a wild one brewing in the Big 12, Kansas State and Texas. You can see the time. Justin Mason lays it in with time under 10 seconds, tying it up at 74. Kansas State would not be able to get a shot off, and the game is going to overtime, tied at 74. Good game brewing. We'll keep you updated throughout the evening. We're back after this quick timeout.
Your Super Bowl Sunday started with the NBA on ABC. King James and the Cavaliers go to Motown to take on Allen Iverson and the Pistons. Coverage begins tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern with GMC NBA Countdown on ABC, home of the NBA Finals.
Cavs and Pistons should be a good one. You think LeBron has enough around him to get back to the conference finals? And can they beat the Celtics if that's the matchup?
You know what, Bob? LeBron, the way he's playing, may not need anybody around him. He's playing a different game than anybody else at the NBA level. And I think Kobe Bryant is the most talented player up until this year. LeBron has really upped his game. But is it me, or is it that Cleveland and Detroit, LA are about the only teams we see on television anymore?
The Lakers.
Yeah, Lakers, yeah. I mean, I thought there were a few more teams in the NBA.
Day for three, knocks it down. A 9-6 lead for Gonzaga and their home building. It's an impressive atmosphere here in Spokane at the McCarthy Athletic Center. Bob Wischusen and Stephen Bardo. This matchup in the West Coast Conference between the two teams that were in the championship game last season. The championship game and the entire conference tournament played in San Diego, right on San Diego's campus. And they were the surprise run-through team. They beat Gonzaga in the championship game, had a magical year, and went to the NCAA tournament and beat UConn. But not the same this year without their best player, Brandon Johnson, who tore his Achilles back on December 6th. And they are now in a dogfight here in the first half with Gonzaga.
And you mentioned Brandon Johnson, what he meant to this San Diego program. You're talking about a guy that could get his shot off at whenever he wanted to, set his teammates up, and draw the opposing defenders.
Heitfeld able to muscle one over the top of Gino Pomer. And Bill Greer, an unhappy man, calls timeout midway through the first half. A 5-point lead for Gonzaga. Of course, San Diego, as we said, playing without their senior point guard, Brandon Johnson. In the first half, San Diego's game back on December 6th against San Diego State. The left heel right there comes down awkwardly, and it's a ruptured Achilles tendon. He had surgery, a fourth-year senior who does have potentially a medical redshirt year available. And the folks at San Diego is Pomer, inside, blocked by Day. Down, saves it, right to Johnson. The folks at San Diego, they'll believe there's a pretty good chance they'll get that medical redshirt year and have Johnson next season. But they struggle at times offensively without him this year. He was averaging about 14 a game when he went down.
Well, and he was the main man and got them going and allowed the other guys on the team to fit into their roles a lot easier. Now they have to step their game up. Some guys uncomfortable trying to score a little bit more now.
And it's hard to replace a 1,400-point scoring senior guard, especially when there is some youth around him. And this is a team that, outside of Palmer, who also is a senior, has a lot of youth, especially in their backcourt. Tremaine Johnson, Matt Dorr, only sophomores. Ginty's only a sophomore as well.
When you're talking about a guy like Brandon Johnson, he gives your team a collective moxie. And especially if they're young guys, they can look to him in tough situations, and they haven't been able to do that thus far. So Deshaun Jackson, Jr. in the backcourt, is going to have to step up and provide that stability and that toughness. But he's on the bench with 2 fouls now.
First foul called on Palmer a moment ago. Dimitri Goodson comes on. Fargo now sits down. Bolden on the bench as well.
And this is what makes Gonzaga so difficult to defend. Micah Downs, Goodson. They rotate Stephen Gray in and out of the game. So they go 9 or 10 deep. And all of the guys on the floor have the ability to put the ball in the hole.
Gray shuffled his feet, turns it over in the lane. Been nearly 7 minutes since San Diego has scored a field goal. A 9-0 Gonzaga run. With all that, they're only down 5, but they need to find a way to get some points on the board.
They really do, and they haven't been able to do it that much in a half-court set. They're not a fast break team, and so they have a small margin of error when they're in the half court.
Dorr put his shoulder down, called for his first foul. Only 1 foul called on Gonzaga so far.
Doing a good job, again, of using their length and packing back defensively, not allowing many driving lanes.
Goodson drives the baseline, flips it up and in. What a pretty move.
I believe that was with the offhand. Going to the hole, jumping past the defender with the left hand, 9.8 degree of difficulty on the triple axel. Oh, good look by Ginty, but you got to pull the trigger.
The ball is pulled away from Chris Lewis, but a foul call. They called the foul on Day. And this is a big weekend for Coaches versus Cancer. A lot of coaches around the country are wearing sneakers today in support of Coaches versus Cancer Suits and Sneakers Awareness Weekend. Mark Few is one of the driving forces in America behind Coaches versus Cancer. And of course, he got a lot of help from Bill Greer when he was his assistant, and Bill Greer chipping in as well. The Spokane chapter of Coaches versus Cancer, co-chaired by Mark and his wife, Marcy Few, they gave a check to the American Cancer Society before the game today for $611,000. And they have raised $3.3 million just in Spokane alone for cancer research.
And Bob, the event they have in the summer is unparalleled. I was here, enjoyed it, a first-class operation, and raised a ton of money for research. Hat goes off to Mark and Marcy for the work that they put in the offseason.
The Downs 3 stretches the lead to 10.
San Diego wanted to get to the 10-minute mark. Still in single digits, but now find themselves in trouble in need of a huge basket.
And they get one. Danny Brown hits a 3 after Ginty's shot was blocked, but he had the wherewithal to find Brown off the carom. Bolden now puts his shoulder down again. Can't get it to go, and a foul inside. Called on Heitfeld.
Boy, Gino, Fred, Sampson, Palmer came out of nowhere on the block, saving a parent layup.
Ryan Burr in studio. Let's get you caught up to date on Kansas State and Texas. Ron Anderson wheeling, dealing, goes baseline up, no good. Anderson on the rebound off glass and in. We are tied at 79 in overtime. We will keep you updated throughout the afternoon. Well, we'll call it the evening now. And Washington, look at Arizona State. Arizona State could lose 2 in a row now in 2 days. They're losing 41-29 to Washington.
All right, it's been a great year so far for Washington. Obviously, we'll keep our eyes on the Texas score, but how about UConn? In line for the top spot. They might be #1, certainly, when the poll comes out later on tomorrow night. Pat Summitt going for win number 1,000. And in the SEC, a couple of coaches gone, no teams in the top 25.
Yeah, I'm a little disturbed by that right there, Bob. When you see college coaches get yanked in January, I think it's a little quick trigger, and it leaves the student athletes out to dry.
Off the timeout, San Diego turns it over. The trap works perfectly, and here's Bolden. Slipped away by Dorr, and it's off Bolden's knee, out of bounds. Good hands by Matt Dorr.
Despite being down by 7 points, San Diego has really done a good job in a half-court defensive set. You see their nice dig to pry the ball away, and Gonzaga's found it hard to find openings in their half-court sets, so San Diego hanging tough.
The lob, back door. Unable to convert is Jones. And it's out of bounds off San Diego.
That was a nice read that time between Rob Jones and Tremaine Johnson. Simple eye contact. They saw an opening and didn't connect, but that's a right idea. You need to try to get some quick hitters like that. But Dimitri Goodson, the maturation of his game is going to have to be to extend that range on his jump shot. Dorr playing way in his paint area.
Heitfeld rises and fires. Too strong. Goodson way in the air for the rebound. Misses the fadeaway. The tip followed by Gray won't go. Jones corrals it, and a nice bounce pass to Dorr. Another turnover, though, on the hit ahead. Here's Bolden.
Matt Bolden.
Dorr stripped it away, but a foul called. And I think they're going to say that Bolden was in his shooting move and was on his way up. So Dorr picks up his second foul. And that should put Bolden at the free throw line. Big Monday continues on ESPN with a pair of games. First at 7 Eastern, a top 10 battle. Soon to be #1 UConn will take on #7 Louisville. And then at 9 Eastern in the Big 12, Kansas and Baylor. Big Monday presented by Bud Light on ESPN a couple of nights from now. For more information, log on to ESPN.com.
Well, he talked about UConn, Louisville. My goodness, the Cards. Rick Pitino has those guys hitting on all cylinders. They usually hit their prime near March, but boy, they have been outstanding throughout the Big East thus far. Nice physical defense that time by Matt Bolden.
Johnson got in the lane, but it was knocked away on the deck. Heitfeld can't save it. That was very nearly another turnover by San Diego. In their last 14 possessions, they've turned it over 7 times. And Gonzaga this season, they've held a couple of teams under 30% shooting. When you hold a team under 50% or 45%, normally you're doing a decent job.
Doing a decent job, but it really helps Gonzaga because they've got guys on the back line that can clean up for mistakes on perimeter defense. We're talking about Heitfeld, Austin Day, both at 6'11", so very difficult to penetrate this Gonzaga defense.
Bolden to the bench. Austin Day comes back on. Only 2 players for San Diego have scored. Palmer has 6, and Danny Brown's got that 3 that broke the long drought.
Well, San Diego hedges hard, meaning the big man steps up to allow the guard underneath the pick. They do a really good job. Both teams very sound defensively.
Shot clock down to 5. Heitfeld's got it with the shot clock down to 3. Has to fade away. Tough shot off the front of the rim, and the loose ball run down by Gray.
Well, Bill Greer is upset.
And then Day called for a foul. Austin Day picks up his first.
Well, it might have been a little Denzel Washington there. When you talk about Rob Jones at 230 being pushed around by Austin Day, 200 soaking wet. So there might have been a little Denzel Washington on behalf of Rob Jones.
Day goes to the bench as Micah Downs comes on. Gino Palmer substituted for by Bill Greer as Roberto Mafra is in for San Diego.
Watch the 5 count, very close that time. Jeremy Pargo doing a good job of crushing the basketball.
Jones turns it over. Shuffled his feet and walked.
Micah Downs doing a good job of building the wall defensively, staying straight up and strong, forcing the offensive player into a turnover. See the numbers right there. No one's gotten any kind of rhythm thus far, Bob. Too many turnovers, a lot of missed shots, but very good D on both sides.
Downs leans in, gets his own miss, lost it, and a foul call. They call Ginty for reaching in on Micah Downs. From here, it looked pretty clean. If he just simply reached his hand up, knocked the ball away. Let's take another look at 3 in blue.
See everybody's hands going for the ball. That's a little incidental contact.
Now they called the foul on Ginty, and that is team foul number 8 on San Diego here in the first half. So Micah Downs to shoot a 1-and-1, an 81% free throw shooter.
Micah Downs could really be a key for this ball club. Talking about a long 6'8", very athletic wing player that is a streaky shooter, but he's got the size to do everything on the court. Puts it on the deck well enough, not great, but well enough to get to where he wants to on the floor.
The made free throw allows Gonzaga to pick up full court again. And this time they back off.
See if San Diego can generate some type of offense. Tremaine Johnson been very quiet thus far.
Floats one up and in here. Nice move by Johnson.
Kids play getting busy off the glass over the tall trees. Nice move to avoid the contact.
Pargo went white around him at the other end and lost the ball. Mafra fades away and knocks it down. Back-to-back buckets for San Diego. Cuts the lead down to 5.
In a game like this, Bob, when there's limited possessions, if San Diego can be judicious about their opportunities in terms of pushing the rock up, they could get some opportunities like that, but they have to take advantage. Heupel's got to go quickly. He's trying to weigh on the defense.
Finds Pargo, who penetrates. A lot of contact, no call. Sets up a corner 3 that doesn't go. Downs knocks it back to Pargo. He's wide open, hits a triple.
Wow. San Diego team not real happy with what they perceive to be some missed calls there. But you got to keep fighting and scrapping to get those loose balls and the defensive rebound. Poor floor spacing thus far in this possession for San Diego.
Ginty just about turns it over, has to go to the deck, finds Brown cutting back door, who lays it off to Mafra, and a foul call.
Wow.
What a great play by Ginty after making a terrible play to go to the deck to keep his wits about him and find Brown going back door. Mafra shoots free throws when we return.
Your Buick.
Well, Ryan, here in Spokane, number 25 Gonzaga with a 21-13 lead. Their last offensive bucket had Bill Greer upset.
Yeah, it really did. You look at a mad scramble. Watch Jeremy Pargo, a little out of control. That's a great setup by Rob Jones. Should have gotten the charge call. He's got to get up off the floor and try to box out Micah Downs, which leads to a wide open layup by Pargo. And in a game this close with this few points scored, that's a huge play in the first half.
Roberto Mafra, the Brazilian product, only been speaking English for about 2 years. Went to Southeastern Community College in Iowa before coming to San Diego. And in talking with Bill Greer about the challenges of coaching Mafra, he said, you know, he speaks such broken English that it's hard for him sometimes to retain the team concepts and everything that's being taught, but a very smart young man. He actually said he was surprised at how quickly sometimes he was able to pick up on what they were doing, considering his limited grasp of the language.
Well, and he looks like he's got great feel for the game, so it doesn't come hard for him. And when you put basketball players in positions to be successful, they usually are.
Pargo rises and connects.
Or if there's one knock on that young man's game, it's a consistent outside jumper. He can develop that. Could be looking at an NBA career.
Dorr hits a big three from the corner, though, for San Diego, and the lead's down to 5.
See, again, we talked about it, Bob. San Diego picking and choosing their spots when they push the ball up. They've been very good at it.
Beautiful spin move by Pargo, and he scores on back-to-back trips.
Jeremy Pargo just overpowering Dorr at the hole. Such a tough matchup. One of the reasons it made him West Coast Conference Player of the Year last year.
Jones drives it, shovels off to Palmer, wide open, he pulled the string. Tipped around, though, and a foul called on Jones. So we'll walk the other way, and I think Micah Downs will be shooting free throws, as that is team foul number 9. Later on tonight, Saturday Night Primetime continues on ESPN with a battle in the SEC. It's the Gators and Volunteers at 9 Eastern, Florida and Tennessee. Saturday Night Primetime presented by DirecTV. Later on tonight on ESPN at 9 Eastern. For more information, log on to ESPN.com. It's a 1-and-1 for Micah Downs, who spent 2005-2006 with Kansas and averaged a little over 4 points in 13 games with the Jayhawks, but then the second semester that year came to Gonzaga. So last season was Downs' first full year with the Zags.
Yeah, and again, Micah Downs, one of those unique players that you don't see a lot of in college basketball any longer. The 6'7", 6'8" wing players. You know, a lot of those guys typically leave early. You don't see him around college basketball a lot, but he's very athletic, very skilled at that 6'7", 6'8" wing position. So he could be an X factor if Gonzaga wants to fulfill what some people think could be a Final Four run this year.
There at the line for Downs. Rob Jones with 2 fouls now sits down. Chris Lewis comes on for the last minute of the half. And again, problems with the pressure for San Diego.
One thing you see in college basketball are players leaving their feet to make a pass. I think that comes from AAU basketball in high school. It's a terrible trend in college basketball, and you see it almost every game.
Mark Few calls a timeout. That timeout you can't take with you to the second half to set up what might be the last possession for the Bulldogs here in the first half. And Gonzaga, as of Thursday night, was where in your best of the West? And where are they now? The Zags at number 3 as far as your top 10 in the West?
Yeah, they were number 3, and I caught a little heat because UCLA was ranked behind them, but that's why they call it Bartle's best in the West.
Well, now let's adjust it as of today with everything that's happened over the past couple of days.
Yeah, and UCLA and Gonzaga now tied for first. Arizona State in a dogfight. Watch Utah State moved up very quickly, and that's an outstanding team. Stu Morrill does a fantastic job. Portland State dropping because they got a loss against Montana.
All right, just for consistency's sake, I think at least we should point this out. No team stayed where you had them on Thursday night. You moved every team in the top 10 at least one spot.
Because there were 4 losses in the top 10. And so if you hold serve and someone loses in front of you, you have a chance to move up.
I'm proud you have such strong convictions as Gray comes up short on the 3 ball and it goes over the backboard. So with 30 seconds to go in the half, San Diego can hold for 1.
Well, you know, I got to have something, man, because all we get is a big piece of chicken. You know what I'm saying, Bob? As fathers, we only get the big piece of chicken. So I got to hold on to Bartle's best of the West as much as I can. Boy, Chris Lewis, a little shaky right there on the handle.
And now a foul called on Goodson for reaching in. That's only team foul number 6 for the Bulldogs, though. They had 1 to give.
Wow, what a quick pressing lineup on the floor right now for Gonzaga. Ira Brown, Goodson, Pargo, Bolden, and Micah Downs. You talk about quick on quick at all 5 positions.
Johnson tried to shake and bake the dribble, and Goodson called for the foul. Wow, Goodson dove for the loose ball, and it appeared as if Johnson jumped on top of him.
Well, Johnson being a little cute right there. And Dimitri Goodson showing you some of that football background out of Texas. Goes after that rock with reckless abandon.
So that will put Tremaine Johnson at the line to shoot 1 and 1.
Normally, Bob, if you're Coach Few, you'd be a little upset with that foul at that point, but you can't be upset with that effort right there and the defense that Goodson laid down.
Well, I think Mark Few was upset. I don't think he was upset at Dimitri Goodson, though.
There you go. There you go.
I think he was upset at the striped shirts for making the call. Missing the front end, though, is Johnson. So now a chance for the Bulldogs to shoot the final shot of the first half. Bolden launches, comes up short. It's loose. Pargo before the buzzer gets it off, and it's no good. So it's a 9-point lead at halftime for the Zags over San Diego. As we take a look at our Star Watch update, Gino Palmer scored the first 2 field goals for San Diego and managed only 2 free throws the rest of the first half.
Unbelievable half defensively for Gonzaga.
A 9-point lead for Gonzaga at halftime over San Diego. Now it's time to join Ryan Burr and Jay Williams. They're standing by in our studios with the Dick's Sporting Goods halftime report. Ryan? Welcome back to Spokane. Bob Wischusen and Stephen Bardo at the base of some unwell people. Actually, this is one of the great student sections right behind you here in Spokane at the McCarthy Center in all of college basketball. We didn't see the greatest basketball in the first half of this one, yet on the road, in spite of a bad first half, San Diego was very much in this game.
Yeah, he's really done a good job of limiting the possessions of Gonzaga, stretching the game out, taking a lot of time off each shot clock possession.
Now this is the top 3, Palmer, Johnson, and Jones for San Diego. These are their per-game averages. This is what they've done today. So if you're wondering why the score is what it is and why San Diego only has 18 points, that's a big reason why.
Well, and all 3 of those players are just 3 of 10 combined. So not only do they have to shoot a better percentage, but they've got to get more attempts as well.
Keys for the Toreros in the second half. Not only to stay in the game, but even have a chance late to win it in a very tough road atmosphere.
Tremaine Johnson's got to step his game up and be a lot more aggressive with the basketball. Palmer will get his opportunities inside. Doesn't look like Gonzaga's going to try to double team him, but they've got to generate offense.
Gore can't hit a 3 to start. Offensive rebound. Jones had his shot partially blocked by Day. Gray finds Day in transition for the lay-in.
Oh, a beautiful pass by Stephen Gray. Not necessarily known for his passing prowess, but put it on the money for the big fella right there.
And Day might lack some physicality, but when you see a 6'11" guy make that catch in transition and smoothly lay it in.
And get bumped.
And get tied up with Rob Jones. I think they called the foul on Day. Well, that's the bad, but here's the good for Austin Day.
Look, gets the block on one end and beats everyone else down the floor. Look at him spread out right there. Catch, gets a little bump, goes off glass. That's showing you some skills right there.
And he got tied up with Rob Jones, and Day was called for his second foul. So Day has 2. No other starter for Gonzaga has more than 1. And mild foul trouble for Dord, Jones, and Jackson for San Diego. They all have 2 apiece.
Well, San Diego's not going to get you in much foul trouble because they don't attack the rim that much. They settle for a lot of jumpers, and so you don't have a lot of opportunities to put Gonzaga at a disadvantage on the defensive end.
Bolden looking for Day, and that time he lost it.
Every time not every time, but almost every time you see Day have issues, it's something with physicality and his lack of strength. And we don't want to belabor the point, but that is the only thing that's holding him back from possibly being the player of the year in this conference and a possible lottery lot.
Johnson sprints to the baseline and squeezes it up and in.
Now that's available for him if he can be aggressive and look for the bucket.
Fargo hit the backboard trying to find Heitfeld, and Palmer inside rejects Bolden. Dorr in transition, right to the basket. Gets it to go over Day.
Boy, I am really impressed with the Toreros and their choice and when to fast break. They've done a very good job on that, especially late in the first half.
Mark Few calls a 30-second timeout, which gives us an opportunity in a few moments to come back and take a closer look at Spokane. It is beautiful this time of year.
All 4 Grand Slams, all in one place.
It looks like nothing else on the road right now, proclaims GQ magazine.
Did you see that?
The interior positively oozes class, raves car magazine. Slick and sensuous, boasts the Washington Times. The most striking VW in recent memory, declares...
Okay, I get it already.
I think we were in a car commercial.
Here in Spokane, they just dug out the Bulldog about a month ago. This is one of the great college basketball atmospheres, though, in this building. And you've done more than one game from here.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed coming out here. And these fans have a special passion for their Zags and really make it difficult. You see Micah Downs right there. Micah Downs is very impressive. 7 points and 7 rebounds off the bench in the first half. Gave Gonzaga a huge lift.
And when you're in this atmosphere at the McCarthy Athletic Center, it's a building that opened up in the 04-05 season. You understand why Gonzaga is 59-3 overall in this building.
Beautiful facility. Looks like more than 6,000 fans, but they're right on top of you. Very knowledgeable. They do read up on you, so if you do have something that's quirky, like Omar Samhan found out, he got 400 emails on his email account from Gonzaga fans. Lets you know how passionate these fans are about their team.
Bolden with the reach in, that's his first. Santa Clara, Washington State a couple of years ago, and Portland State earlier on this season. Boy, of all of the games and tough games that Gonzaga plays, it's hard to believe that a home game to Portland State is the one, at least most recently, that they lost.
And you got to remember, Portland State was a tournament team last year, and they're right at the top along with Weber State in the Big Sky. So, capable team, but it kind of goes the way all of college basketball has gone this year. It's just a number of upsets.
I didn't notice Portland State in your best of the West.
10.
Are they right there?
Yeah, they're right. They're number 10.
I guess the win at Gonzaga puts them up there, right? Day tries again and connects again. Austin Day starting to heat up. He's in double figures.
He makes it look so easy. Just no wasted motion what he's doing.
Tremaine Johnson fouled by Stephen Gray, so Johnson will go to the free throw line.
Nice basketball instincts by Austin Day. Drive the defender off, up fake, crossover, 6'11". Woo. Rob Jones will see that in his dreams tonight. Man.
Tremaine Johnson didn't start today. Devin Ginty, a sophomore walk-on, got the start at point guard. Johnson came on about 4 minutes in, but last year Johnson took over as the starter at point guard. They slid Brandon Johnson to the 2. For the final 15 games, San Diego went 12-3 once Bill Greer made that lineup shuffle.
Yeah, Tremaine Johnson is a very talented performer, but he lacks consistency, especially in these big games, to step up and provide offense and provide other opportunities for his teammates. Nice job of San Diego using the changing defenses to try to keep Gonzaga off balance.
Bolden inside, that's a goaltend. Second field goal for Matt Bolden.
This is an example of the offensive versatility that the Zags have. Bolden, Pargo can both post you up. big, strong guards in the post area, taking advantage of their height advantage.
Micah Downs replaces Stephen Gray for Gonzaga.
San Diego running a little flex action here. Series of down screens, swinging the ball from side to side, looking for an open.
Jones lost it in the corner with 7 on the shot clock. 15:59 to go in the second half. We'll take a quick timeout and see what San Diego does with these last 7 seconds to shoot. We'll also take a look at Steve Bardo's best guards in the West. Curious to see where Patty Mills is on that list when we come back.
Wednesday.
35-23, Gonzaga leads San Diego. I think I remember a point guard coming from Spokane that wasn't a bad player. Or number 12. Let's take a look at Steve Bardo's best guards in the West, at least so far this season. These are the point per game averages of these 5 players. Of course, Patty Mills is injured.
Yeah, and this great collection of guards here. My favorite is that man right there, James Harden of Arizona State. I think he is outstanding, but a very unfortunate situation for Patty Mills from St. Mary's.
On Thursday night, right here at the McCarthy Athletic Center, kind of a freak play. Jeremy Pargo grabs the shorts, kind of throws him off balance, and as he was falling to the deck, planted with his right hand and ends up with a fracture. Came out for the second half after hitting 6 threes in the first half, tried to warm up to see if he could go. I'm not sure if they had taken x-rays at halftime, if they knew it was broken yet, but he turned around to Coach Bennett and said, "I can't do it," and of course ended up spending the second half on the sideline watching his team fall here at Gonzaga.
And if you know anything about Patty Mills, you know his competitive nature. If there was any way that he could have, he would have gotten back into the game.
Jermaine Johnson trying to beat the shot clock, missed everything. So off the timeout, not the look that Bill Greer wanted. And his team down by double figures and the game teetering on the brink right now for San Diego.
Yeah, this is a critical possession on the defensive end. Definitely need to get a stop.
Pargo, tough shot, gets it to go.
Boy, Pargo, if he could get inside 12 feet and he comes off the bounce and gets his rhythm, he's pretty effective there. Just struggles with this flat-up jumper from three-point range. Rob Jones needs to find himself some operating room down on the baseline. He's not able to take advantage of his size against Austin Day because he's on the perimeter.
Jackson drives it in the lane. Offensive foul. Heitfeld stepped up and took the charge.
Once again, it's so difficult to defend, to score on Gonzaga. The guards pressure and send the traffic into the paint. And you've got 6'11" and 6'11" in there. And now Micah Downs at 6'9" as the wing player. Really not a lot of room to try to finish at the rim.
A moment ago, it was the 3rd foul called on Deshaun Jackson, and I think that's number 4. And he's strolling right over to the bench. Let's see if Bill Greer gets someone up to replace him. I think he was assuming he was going to be substituted for, and now realizes that that will be the case as Danny Brown will come on. So 4 fouls for Jackson.
Gonzaga's really taking control of this game here.
Bolden, way short.
So great for San Diego with Deshaun Jackson next to Tremaine Johnson, their most creative player offensively. Ginty and Brown are going to have to really step up.
Jones, the throwdown in traffic with authority.
Posters for sale out in the lobby after the game.
And then Pargo called for an offensive foul. So maybe some momentum for San Diego as Ginty was able to draw the Pargo foul.
Rob Jones goes to the hole with authority and puts Micah Downs on a poster right there. Mike is going to hear about that tomorrow in film session with his teammates. goes to the flex action. Trying to be tight inside of the three-point line.
Ginty gets in the lane and has his pass knocked out of bounds with 7 seconds on the shot clock.
Been impressed, though, with San Diego's will to continue to try to get to the rim, even though not a lot of room in there with the size of Gonzaga, but still trying to get there.
And then a turnover. Bolden gets Palmer in a mismatch, blows past him and draws the foul. Later on tonight, Saturday night primetime continues on ESPN. A good matchup in the SEC at 9 Eastern. Tennessee behind Tyler Smith will take on Nick Calathis and the Gators. It's Florida, Tennessee, Saturday night primetime, presented by DirecTV. Later on tonight on ESPN at 9 Eastern. For more information, you can always log on to ESPN.com. Ira Brown comes back on for the Bulldogs, replacing Heitfeld. One of two at the line for Bolden.
Right here, San Diego has nothing but confidence. Needs to get a good look and a high percentage shot. They don't want us to force up a jumper with the time running down. Need to be more aggressive in taking maybe the first opportunity at a good look, as opposed to one with the shot clock running down.
Well, my question would be, where has Gino Palmer been? He scored the game's first 2 field goals. He had a couple of free throws later on in the first half. He still only has 6. Have they gotten the ball into the post once to Palmer here in the second half?
No, I haven't seen it. And, you know, Palmer is on the block and trying to post up. And what Gonzaga's doing, they're not double teaming, Bob, but the guard that's on that side sits back into his lap. And so there's really nowhere for him to operate.
He lobs it into a double team, and Jones can't handle it. And here comes Downs. Fade away by Day. Knocked out of bounds by Downs. He thought Jones knocked it out. Now the officials will get together. And they'll reverse the call and give it to Gonzaga.
I think that's an effective call right there. It looked like Micah Downs had good rebounding possession. Yeah, that's a pretty good call. Nice job of the officials coming together and getting it right.
Rob Jones sits down. Day gets position inside on Lewis, and Lewis called for the foul.
Boy, Day is slippery around that basket. Doesn't have the explosion yet that he probably will gather once he gets stronger, but man, he is really long and slippery. Reverse layup attempt right there to get away from the defender. Big fella will probably have a mean horse game as well.
Well, Day now has 12. He's the only player in the game for either team in double figures. And make it 13 for Austin Day. Well, San Diego's averaging less than a point a minute. They've got 25 points. Now, they only average about 62.5 points a game. But they right now are on a pace to barely crack 40. And Ginty can't hit a wide open 3.
Well, and Gonzaga is pressing to design the game to get up and down a little bit. So they're going to use a little bit of pressure, try to speed San Diego up into some quick shots like we just saw from Ginty.
This is Gonzaga's largest lead, and Gino Palmer scoreless for the last 21.5 minutes. This is the all-time leading scorer and rebounder in San Diego history. Finally, they get it to him in the post.
Well, you see where Jeremy Pargo is? He's sitting in his lap, so he really doesn't have a room to operate.
Sets up Jackson for a 3, though.
Can't take away everything on the defensive end. Good job by Jackson.
So at least when they go to Palmer in the post, it's got a chance to create something for somebody else.
Yeah, and they have to have the floor spacing. That time it was good floor spacing for Jackson, but a serious threat here because Jackson has 4 fouls.
Day with a much smaller Danny Brown on his hip, and Brown called for the foul. That's the fourth, check that, the 15th foul for San Diego here in the second half. We're under 12 minutes to go. Gonzaga has led by as many as 15. They're up 12 now.
Well, Ryan, Arizona State struggling here, but Gonzaga having pretty good success. Well, let's take a look at how Gino Palmer can get his teammates open with some better floor spacing. Gino Palmer right here will draw all kinds of traffic. Jackson will slide up here on the three-point line, giving a nice floor spacing. Go ahead and let it roll. And then Pargo reacts a little bit too late. Jackson makes him pay. That's the type of floor spacing San Diego's going to need, Bob, if they want to get back in this game.
Bolden from straight away. Can't hit the three. Heitfeld tips it up and in. That's a lucky bounce for Heitfeld.
That ring size might have helped a little bit on that one. We see San Diego right now trying to isolate Palmer in the low post.
Brown off the mark. Day another rebound. Bolden knocks over Ginty, no call. And then a reach-in is called on Lewis. Is this skill for Heitfeld, or was this fortunate? A little bit of both.
I think this is 6'11". That's what that is right there. Beautiful reach, but you know what it was more than anything? It's effort. He didn't give up on the play. Got that hand on the ball. That's a great sign for Gonzaga.
He's finally healthy. You know, for Josh Heitfeld, this is, as a senior, an opportunity to play a normal season. It's been a roller coaster career. As a freshman, he plays in 14 games. This is more than half the season with an ankle stress fracture. Then as a sophomore, a very well publicized suspension after he was arrested in possession of mushrooms. Reinstated in October of his junior year, comes back, fractures his foot, needs surgery. So he sits out the first 11 games. The foot doesn't heal properly. He comes back again. The foot's still hurt, needs surgery again. That's your first 3 years of college. So now you're finally a senior, you're 100% healthy. He looks like a different player.
He really does, and he's always been a great athlete, but when you're not healthy, you can't be at full strength. But right now, he's spearheading this Gonzaga attack and finally healthy. Boy, look at him fight Palmer on the block. Right now, San Diego offensively challenged.
Boy, way short from three.
Just not many guys on the floor right now for San Diego that can go and create you an opportunity.
And another trip where Palmer doesn't touch the ball.
But on the flip side, you look at Gonzaga, Day, Bolden, Downs, and Heitfeld can all make plays.
There's a play made by Heitfeld, a three.
As pretty a jumper from a big man in the country that you will see in Josh Heitfeld. Gets it to the shooting pocket, no wasted motion, pretty release.
A 10-3 run for Gonzaga, their largest lead at 47-28. Bill Greer calls a timeout.
This is really difficult to defend, Bob. You've got a big man in Gino Palmer. When they come outside the paint, they feel a little like they don't have all their clothes on, possibly. So they feel a little naked out there on an island and a little too slow. Forgot the scouting report on Josh Heitfeld.
Well, Gonzaga got by St. Mary's on Thursday night. St. Mary's, without Patty Mills, has a very difficult game against Portland later on tonight. And then on Thursday night, I'll be part of the group that's at Portland as Gonzaga goes on the road to take on the Pilots. The Pilots off to the best start they've ever had in the West Coast Conference.
Eric Revno doing a fantastic job with the Pilots. Getting it going. Ivio starting to come into his own with Portland.
Jackson from the corner, hits a three.
Well, Jackson's going to let it fly here. He's got nothing to lose. A little bit more than 9 minutes left. He's one of the few guys that have found any rhythm consistently against this Zags defense.
Palmer now on the bench for San Diego. A small lineup. Roberto Mafra and 4 guards. Shot clock down to 7. Heitfeld flips it in the corner. Goodson drives, spins, fades away, gets the bounce. Gonzaga must be the home team today with some of the bounces they've gotten these last few trips.
Yeah, that was fortuitous bounce definitely for Goodson, who struggles with his shot sometimes, so that should help his confidence.
Ginty answers. And Heitfeld called for the foul. Getting position on Mafra in the lane. That's Heitfeld's second.
And that's not a bad foul, Bob. You like the effort from Josh Heitfeld. That's one thing, if you can point to about him, is sometimes you question. There'll be times when he can dominate the game, and there'll be times when you don't know he's on the floor. So anytime you see some effort like that from Josh Heitfeld, you've got to be happy about it.
Brown for 3. He's got it. All of a sudden, behind the arc, the Toreros start to do some damage. Can they pull themselves back in this game? Mark Few senses some momentum shifting and calls timeout.
Some nice 3-man weave action and kick to the weak side. Didn't allow the Gonzaga defense to adjust quick enough. And Brown, picture perfect jumper. Look at the dribble weave, the kick, weak side. Slow rotation on Gonzaga. Danny Brown's done that before.
And one thing we should note as well, for the San Diego fans that are watching and saw DeJon Jackson hit a couple of threes, the reason he's back in the game, it's not that Bill Greer is taking chances playing him with 4 fouls. While we were away during our last commercial break, they actually alerted us that they made a change in the official scoring and gave one of Jackson's fouls to Rob Jones. So Rob Jones now has 3, but Jackson also has 3. He's not playing with 4. So that frees up Bill Greer to bring Jackson in probably much sooner than he would have had they not made that change.
There's no doubt about it, Bob. And wonder if there was Bill Greer called in some old favorites that he has here in Spokane to get that one turned. Now the crowd's back into it, trying to urge Gonzaga on. Zags need a little lift right here. San Diego making this interesting. Oh, set play to try to get Austin Day on the block.
Downs tried to go backdoor, and Pargo didn't pull the trigger. Day, 7 to shoot. Double teamed with 5 to shoot. Looks for Pargo. They turn it over. So San Diego has it back, and they've been hot recently from behind the arc.
They have, so they're doing a good job of shading right there. Nice ball rotation. Jackson's done that before. So is Ginty, and then Danny Brown off the bench. Knocking down the open jumper. Those are the boosts that you need on the bench, off the bench, on the road.
And then Johnson goes one-on-one into a double team, forces one up. Not a good decision. Bolden the other way. And a blocking foul, I believe, is going to be called on Ginty. And that'll put Bolden at the free throw line when we come back. A 12-point lead for Gonzaga at home. 7:51 to go in this rematch of last year's conference championship game. A double-digit lead for Gonzaga. 7:51 to go in this West Coast Conference matchup here in Spokane over San Diego. And Big Monday continues on ESPN a couple of nights from now with a pair of games. First at 7 Eastern, a top 10 battle. We expect UConn will be number 1 by the time this game is played. So Jeff Adrian will take on Samardo Samuels in number 7 Louisville. Then at 9 Eastern in the Big 12, Kansas and Baylor. Good matchup with Sharon Collins playing so well this season for Kansas. Big Monday presented by Bud Light on ESPN. For more information, you can log on to ESPN.com. Had a chance to see Sharon Collins and Kansas win at Nebraska earlier this week in a game where Nebraska put a real scare into the Jayhawks on the road. And Doc Sadler's got a team that's just so small. They just have no inside presence. but they are gamers. And Kansas won a really good road game.
Well, Kansas has amazing consistency in what Bill Self, I believe, gets his players to play as hard as any team in the country. Regardless if they've lost 5 guys to professional basketball, they still play as hard as anyone, and that gives them a chance every time they hit the floor. Gonzaga look for them to be very patient from here on out offensively.
Bolden, a mismatch. He's got Tremaine Johnson down in the post and then brings him back outside. Tries to take him off the dribble, and a reach-in foul called on Danny Brown. That's team foul number 8 for San Diego, so it'll be a 1-and-1. Bolden will go to the free throw line. A reminder, coming up right after we're done here in Spokane, it's the 2009 Australian Open, the women's final in Melbourne. Serena Williams will take on Dinara Safina. So Serena will go for yet another Grand Slam title. And that will come up right after we're done here on ESPN2.
Serena Williams fighting for her life in the semis. Almost knocked out and fought back in the tiebreaker, and boy, she's been lights out ever since. Tremaine Johnson, who's handling the basketball right now, found the going tough this afternoon. Crafty with the basketball, but boy, hadn't had a lot of room to operate.
He's got Heitfeld caught in a mismatch. Mafra's inside with Pargo on his hip, and Pargo's called for the foul, trying to muscle Heitfeld in the lane. That's only team foul number 6 on Gonzaga. Pargo's second personal. Gonzaga doesn't even have a player with 3 fouls, so they have no foul trouble really to deal with here for the last 7 minutes.
If you see San Diego score a bucket, don't be surprised to see them go into 3-quarter court pressure. Try to possibly get a turnover and give Gonzaga a different look, because at this pace they can't trade buckets with Gonzaga.
Jackson for 3, comes up short. That would have been potentially a momentum-changing shot for San Diego had it gone down. Pargo slips one to Gray, backdoor, and it gets stuck. The possession arrow will give it to Gonzaga.
Bob, this is when you know you're struggling offensively. When the ball gets stuck between the rim and the backboard, Stephen Gray just can't buy a break.
Mafra sits down as Palmer comes back on. Gino Palmer is still stuck on 6 points.
You would tip your hat to the team defense of Gonzaga, not just Josh Heitfeld, who's done a very good job, but he's had some help from his teammates as well.
Heitfeld beats Palmer to the goal.
Nice playmaking by Jeremy Pargo. He came off the screen hard, Bob, forcing a double team from San Diego, and they just did not respond quick enough.
Brown hits a 3.
And Brown. Just picture perfect jumper from 3. Better pick him up when he leaves the hotel.
Pargo left alone. Dorr really not respecting Pargo's ability to shoot at all, and Pargo drives it at him anyway. Heitfeld the tip again, and the jam follow.
Well, that's nice pogo stick action by Josh Heitfeld. The second jump as quick as the first. Palmer cannot respond. Right now they have a mismatch. Does San Diego couldn't take advantage of it.
Brown slips it inside. And they call a foul on the drive on Stephen Gray as he bumped Danny Brown. So that should put Brown at the line for a 1-and-1, but here's Heitfeld's follow.
Well, Heitfeld, look how quick he gets off the floor on the second jump. 6'11". I can't stress it enough. This young man, there are no weaknesses in his game in terms of skill set. He's just got to find the ability to leave it all on the floor every time he hits it.
A 15-point lead for Gonzaga, and again, we are moments away, about 4 minutes and 45 seconds away from the women's final at the 2009 Australian Open. We'll be heading to Melbourne and bringing you championship tennis as soon as we're done.
Jeremy Pargo doing his best to get into the teeth of the defense and then try to kick out.
Shot clock at 5. Pargo tries a 3. Palmer the rebound.
Well, the recovery on the perimeter by Stephen Gray, Jeremy Pargo, and Bolden has been impressive.
Jackson misses. Heitfeld rebounds, rips it away from Palmer and Jackson.
Mark Few instructing Bolden, pull it out. The clock is our friend right now. We don't need to look for quick opportunities.
Shot clock down to 10 as Bolden starts to go to work. Heitfeld from the corner. Palmer doesn't go aggressively after the basketball. Just tips it out to no man's land, and it ends up with Pargo. And a new shot clock for Gonzaga.
Players don't understand why coaches get so upset when those things happen like that.
A turnover, though, as Brown breaks free and then misses the layup. Hits the underside of the rim. Jackson gets the bucket.
Ooh, boy, they were fortunate on that one.
And a timeout called by San Diego. It's been that kind of afternoon for San Diego offensively with only 42 points.
Well, Ginty going to the floor like we saw in the first half, and Brown, I think, gets caught between trying to dunk and layup, Bob, and very fortunate Deshaun Jackson got back into the play. Again, remember how I said Gonzaga's teammates are going to kill Micah Downs for getting put on the poster? Well, San Diego's teammate, Danny Brown's teammates will let him hear about that the rest of the season.
The Australian Open is next. The women's final in the 2009 Australian Open will be heading down to Melbourne as soon as we're done. 3:01 to go in the second half. San Diego down 13, and can they put enough pressure on Gonzaga? The way they've shot the 3 in the second half, they at least would have a chance if they could get some stops and hit a couple of buckets to get themselves back in the game. They've been very effective from three-point land.
They really have, and they've had some hot potato action with the ball. Here's the three-quarter court pressure we talked about. They're going to try to force him into the sideline on double team. See if they can come up with a quick turnover.
And Pargo will now milk some clock.
This team is so versatile in Gonzaga, Bob, that you throw zone at them, they can hit you with the 3. You play man-to-man, Josh Heitfeld and Austin Day can get busy inside. Just a tough, tough team to defend.
Foul called on Rob Jones away from the ball. Free throws for Gonzaga when we come back. We might not get an upset here, but there have been some other big upsets today. We'll tell you about some of those enormous college basketball scores when we come back.
Your fingertips.
All right, Ryan, you see 3 more teams ranked go down.
It's been a historic January in terms of upsets around college basketball.
Well, it doesn't seem like everyone that's even in the top 10 stays in the top 10 for long.
No, it doesn't. But the majority of the top 10, Bob, you're talking about the Big East and ACC. So the ACC may not have the depth of the Big East, but they're top heavy. Their top 3 are as good as any 3 in the nation. So you're going to see a little round robin action like that, I believe, the rest of the